on in the league. But we've got the power rankings right now. Last week, I'm just going to go a quick little rundown last week from 10 to 1. So we had we'll go 1 down all the way to 10. So Flames were 1, Avs were 2, Canes 3, Vegas 4, Bruins 5, Stars 6, Pens 7, Rangers 8, Red Wings 9, and the Blues were 10th. And we'll start with 10 and work our way up here when it comes to the power rankings for this week. And at number 10, sneaking in for the first time in the power rankings, are the Philadelphia Flyers. Again, with their recent form of play, again, they did win their last game, but they've looked very good in the defensive zone. They're a pesky team. Again, with not the most skilled players, still waiting for Couture to get back into the lineup. Look out for the Flyers as the season goes on. We've got them sneaking into the top 10 for my power rankings, as the team that I feel like they bumped out were the Detroit Red Wings. I think the Red Wings took a little bit of a step back this week, and the Flyers just proving that, hey, even though they don't have the skill, they have the will. And it's not always about how skilled you are. It's about how you can execute, how you can perform in the D zone, and they're getting it done under John Tortorella. So that's why we've got them at number 10, squeaking in this week into the power rankings. At number 9, we've got a team that was in the power rankings last week but have slid down a little bit, and that is the Vegas Golden Knights. I know they had a couple of tough games. They did play the Colorado Avalanche, and they did lose that game. But again, I'm not as concerned with them dropping as much as I would think. Again, they are technically second in their division. I just feel like there have been some teams that have looked a little bit better than them so far that will crack a little bit higher in the power rankings. Again, Vegas have looked pretty strong. Taking a look at their team stats right now, just to let you know, again, I'm still pretty confident in the Golden Knights. At Eichel, 7 points. Marcia Show, 6. Stevenson, 5. Mark Stone with 5. Pietrangelo, Carlson, Theodore, Riley Smith. Sort of goes on from there. And the goaltending they are getting right now from Logan Thompson. So, again, just with the way their performances this week, that is why I've had them drop. But I will expect to see them in and out of the top 10 this year. But if they continue to play well, we'll see them in it more often than not. So we've got the Vegas Golden Knights in there at 9. Right above them, and actually a big drop. So Vegas went from 4 to 9. A bigger drop here. We've got the Colorado Avalanche going from the number 2 team last week all the way down to number 8. And again, you might be like, what's up for the big drop? Well, obviously sliding in at second in their division. They're 3-2-1. I think some of those games, they just did not look very good. Just kind of running around in their own zone. The loss of Landeskog has a little bit to do with my thought process on the Colorado Avalanche and maybe foreseeing some things going on this week. Again, only a +3 goal differential, whereas the Dallas Stars were looking at a +12. So the disparity there between them and the Stars offensively, I think, is another red flag for me when it comes to the Colorado Avalanche. Again, need to shore some things up in their D zone a little bit more than most teams, I think, that are a top echelon elite team in the NHL. I mean, they won the Stanley Cup, and I expect to see them near the top of the division. But again, a lot of that will have to do on who actually does step up for the Colorado Avalanche in the absence of Gabriel Landeskog, who was out last year, so who knows, maybe I'm overreacting to losing Landeskog for a little while, but that's why we've got the Avs down from number 2 to number 8. So a little bit of a drop, but we might see them go up or down depending on how well they play. Coming in at number 7, they were in the top 10 last week, and they have moved up. We've got the St. Louis Blues. I know last week they only had 1 game played, and I think might have been an overreaction of, man, they look really good after 1 game. But I think after this second week, they've proved that, okay, yep, they're a top team in the NHL. And I know we've already looked at their standings and stats right now, but +6, very solid defensive team. Bennington only letting up 5 goals in 3 games. I think a question mark for me for them is, again, even though they've only played 3 games, they need some more goals. Up front, we need Tarasenko to score some more. Kyrou needs to step up more. I believe he only has 3 points in 3 games. I know you might be like, man, that's a point a game. an all-star, somebody who just got a big contract, needs to be playing a little bit more, a little bit better offensively if he is going to be considered a superstar talent like a Tarasenko on his team. Krug, Falk, Parenko, they need to step it up a little bit more offensively, help out. Maybe their power play needs to click a little bit more. But defensively, I'm not worried about this team whatsoever, and I think that's why I have them a little bit higher than last week and higher than obviously the teams that we've already named on our power ranking top 10, is that defensively, man, they look very tough, and the goaltending, Bennington, looks so good. So that's why we've got the Blues at number 7. Another team cracking the top 10, or they were on the top 10 last week, but they have dropped a little bit from number 3 last week. We've got the Carolina Hurricanes coming in at number 6. I know the other night they had a big win, and then they ended up losing to Calgary 3-2, hard-fought game, but they beat up on the Edmonton Oilers. Svechnikov for the hat trick that game. Offensively, I'm not as worried about that team as I am. So it's almost like the reverse effect with the Canes and the Blues. Offensively, I feel pretty confident about the Carolina Hurricanes, but defensively, that's where I start to get my question marks again. Svechnikov, Aho, Nicias, Burns, Jarvis, Martinook, they're all playing great hockey, but defensively, that's where I start to question the Carolina Hurricanes. They do have a +5, but again, 17 goals, 12 against. The games that they have lost, they're kind of running around. They've only lost one in regulation, one in OT, so really they could be 4-1. But I think more depth scoring could be a big help for them to move up these rankings. Again, they are number 6, so they are still pretty high in the top 10, but defensively, I think they need to shore some things up in the D zone. Goaltending's been pretty solid from Anderson, but I think shore some things up in the D zone with their depth defensive lines or defensive pairings, and I think we might see them bump up a little bit more, considering that they have a couple games this week. See if they can get things going. Maybe they'll be, 5-2-1 by next week, or let's say they go there by end of next week, 4-3-1. It could be a different story. So we'll have to wait and see how they do this upcoming week. But we've got them at number 6, cracking the top 5. They were at number 6 last week, but they are in my top 5 this week. The Dallas Stars, man, they looked good. I know they did lose to the Toronto Maple Leafs in overtime, but they're 4-0-1. That is their only loss on the season, and it is a overtime loss. Goaltending has been great. Jake Ottinger, we already talked about their stats. Pavelski, Robinson, Rupo Hintz, Heiskanen, Tyler Sagan's getting involved this year. They are clicking on all cylinders right now, offensively, defensively. They could be a little bit higher if they won. I think if they won that game against the Leafs, they could be 1 or 2 on my list this week. But having lost that game, again, it was kind of a back and forth game. The Robinson brothers playing each other, I think, had a lot to do with it. +12, maybe they should be higher, but I am a little bit higher on the other teams on this list. But that's why we've got the Stars at number 5. Moving on now to number 4. Again, top 4 teams. It was a little tough for me this week, just given the fact that teams are in and out and playing good hockey. But this team, they went from not being ranked, I'd say more so being just out of my top 10 last week, to being ranked pretty highly on my list if I can find them in here. I haven't actually clicked on them once this year. We'll go with this logo. We've got the Buffalo Sabres, guys. Buffalo Sabres at number 4. They have looked very good. Again, I know we talked about their stats, and Craig Anderson is playing out of his mind for his age. I believe it was a 9.65 with a 1.00 goals against average. They are playing very good hockey. Let's actually swap that out. We'll get the regular logo right there for them. Again, amazing hockey, second in their division, 4-1-0. Rasmus Dahlin, one of the stories so far this season. He's been playing out of his mind. Alex Tuch has been playing great. Honestly, ever since coming over from the Vegas Golden Knights, Tuch being from Syracuse, now playing at Buffalo, so upstate New York kid, basically playing at home. Casey Middlestat stepping up. Olofsson stepping up. They're all playing great hockey, defensively and offensively. Neutral zone trap, forecheck. They're hitting. Their heads are on a swivel in the D zone. Again, you're getting the goaltending, you're getting the scoring. Again, Buffalo is looking very good, clicking on all cylinders. They did have the one loss, but they've won 3 straight. So We've got them at number 4. They could be moving up as the season goes on, but again, they could be moving down. The top 10 power rankings are what I think they are. Everyone has their own opinion, and you are all entitled to that opinion. But moving on to number 3, they moved up. They were 7 last week. They are number 3 this week, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Man, they are firing on all cylinders. The top offensive team in the league this year so far, plus 15 goal differential, 26 goals for. So they don't have the most goals, but they have the best goal differential, which I find to be more important than goals actually scored. They are firing, man. We didn't take a look at their stats earlier, but let's take a look at their stats now. It's not just the top dogs, it's by committee. You obviously Crosby 10 points, but then it drops off. But then you've got a massive group of guys there with 6 points, 5 points, 4 points, 3 points. Heinen, Gensel, Malkin, Rust, Zucker, Pettersson, Letang, Ruda, Joseph, Raquel, I think is one that needs to pick it up a little bit more, playing line 1 minutes, but they are getting it done by committee. They're playing great defensively, depth defensively has been a struggle for them in the past couple of seasons. It hasn't looked like that this year so far. Again, injuries could have an impact on that here moving forward. But man, Pittsburgh has looked great. Gensel's looked good. Crosby's looked amazing. Even Malkin. Malkin is looking like he has a pep in his step this year. Offensively, their power plays clicking. Neutral zone, chip and chase, throwing the body around. I mean, Pittsburgh, obviously we know they can come back. They beat the Blue Jackets 6-3. Again, crazy stuff coming out of Pittsburgh. Again, look for them to continue their momentum as long as they can stay healthy with some of their top dogs being a little bit older. If they get injured, we could see some issues, but getting it done by committee, that's why we've got them at number 3, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, my top 2 was a tough decision. This team was number 1 last week. They're down to number 2 this week. The Calgary Flames, again, almost like the Penguins when it comes to the way that they're playing, getting it done by committee, looking very solid. They're 4-1-0. They've played some good games. They've beaten some top teams, or at least in my mind, some top teams. Avalanche, they've beat the Oilers. So they're beating teams in the West that are going to be up there this season. So if they can beat them, we know that they'll probably be able to handle like your Nashvilles, your Minnesotas, your Arizonas, your Vancouvers, your San Jose's, your lower teams in the league, getting it done up there in the North. I know I talked about their stats earlier. We don't need to go into that again. Getting it done by committee like the Penguins, playing solid defensively. Goaltending isn't an issue. You've got Markstrom playing great between the pipes. A couple turnovers here and there, I think, as their goal differential is only +2, so I think they need to step it up in that department and some defensive breakdowns, but getting some more goals, I think, is a top priority for them. Some guys maybe stepping up. I think, not Marcia Show, I always get him confused with Jonathan Huberdeau, who they just got. He needs to step it up a little bit more. I know, new surrounding. He is the captain now, so we'll have to wait and see if he can step it up this week and turn things around for his individual play. But team play, Calgary Flames look good. We've got them at number 2. Now, my top team this week is not really out of the blue. They were in the top 10 last week. They were in the top 5. But, man, with the week and the play that they've had recently, we've got them bumped up to number 1, and that is the Boston Bruins, man. We were down on them. We didn't give them a chance. I don't even think I called for them to even make the playoffs, and they are proving, not probably only me, but a lot of people wrong this year. Again, great play of form with, again, Marchand and a few other players out. They've looked extremely good. Pasternak, Bergeron, DeBrusk, Taylor Hall. Again, the list goes on and on and on. And Allmark playing great hockey between the pipes. Boston is firing on all cylinders. D-zone, they look good. Offensively, they look good. Neutral zone, they are hard to get in the zone on. You can dump and chase on them, but their D are big, solid guys that they're not afraid to take a hit. They'll break out cleanly against you. They're very disciplined in their own zone, which makes it very tough to beat a hockey team when they're like that. They are +8 goal differential. They've scored 27 goals this year. They're going to be a tough team to play against, whether you're at home against them or you're on the road in Boston, which was even harder. And we'll be watching that game Thursday night, Detroit versus Boston. That'll be a fun one to watch, but we've got Boston at number 1 All around play, very solid, very tough. Those are our top 10 rankings. Starting from 10 all the way up: Flyers, Golden Knights, Avalanche, Blues, Canes, Stars, Sabres, Penguins, Flames, and the bad boy Bruins. Top 10 power rankings. Let me know down below in the comments, or if you're in the live stream right now, if you would change anything with that. Who